This is Jamey with Stonemeyer Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in Groundhog Day, the game. This is a cooperative game that was recommended to me when I recently talked about tranquility on this channel, and I love time loop fiction in general, and I love this style of game. It's kind of the mind style of game where you're trying to just cooperatively place down a series of numbers in ascending order. Very simple, but I like that style of game, so I really wanted to try this, and I really enjoyed it. I've had fun every time I've played this game so far. I played it with 2 players, 3 players, and I think it was either 4 or 5 players. It goes up to 6. You can't play it solo, but it does work well up to those higher player counts. The whole point of the game is that over a series of days, you are trying to have the perfect day, as is what happens in the movie of Groundhog Day. Phil starts out with a terrible day, and then he tries different things, and eventually he works towards being a great person and the universe is happy. And that is what the game is all about too. And the way that you do that is you have a hand of cards, and I'll explain, I'm skipping over one thing that is my favorite mechanism, but you have a hand of cards and you're trying to play them in numerical order down to these 7 slots on the base of the board. So the 7 slots down here. So if I play a 5, then someone else has to play a card that's higher than a 5. They go 1 through 12. And so one of the ways that you can lose is if you don't actually play all 7 cards within about a minute. I believe this is a minute timer that's on the game. You have a minute to do that. And almost definitely, in fact, it's impossible to do it the first round, you will not have a perfect day. This is the worst version of the 5th part of your day. And the best part, they're represented by red cards. So here is a perfect start of your day. This is a red card, has 4 hearts at the bottom to represent just how perfect it is. So you're trying to kind of go for from these gray cards up through an escalating number of cards. So there's these orange cards that have 2 hearts. There's yellow cards that have 3 hearts, and so on. I'm missing the blue cards, but blue cards have 1 heart. Working towards that perfect day. And I love the time loop element of this because you're kind of having a really bad day, and then you get another hand of cards. You shuffle all the cards back together that aren't left out here. So you leave out here the cards that you played, which is really, really great for the game because you're essentially unbuilding a deck of cards. You're getting rid of these cards that you don't want in the deck, and you're moving on to hopefully what is a better day. There are a couple ways that you can lose. One is that you don't end up playing 7 cards in a minute, which at higher player count seemed really, really easy. At 2 players, we stumbled over that a little bit and came very close at 2 players to not quite playing all 7 cards that you need to. But that is generally fairly easy to do. The other catch, though, is that you need to play, at the end of each round, you add up the number of hearts that you had in the previous round. So on these gray cards, there are no hearts. But if I played a perfect 1 at the beginning of a day, that's 4 hearts. You add up all those hearts in the previous day, and you need to have more hearts played on the next day. So basically, you need to be getting better. You need to be improving every day, or you just lose. And this is a really nice lose condition. It's a little hard to keep track of in real time as you're playing, but it's a really nice lose condition to have. It works thematically. You're trying to have a better day. And it means that every round really, really matters because not only are you getting these bad cards out of the deck and thinning the deck a little bit, the shared deck, this is a shared deck between all players, but you're also trying to have really the worst day possible and then get just a little bit better and then just a little bit better until you have honed this deck to be able to play 7 perfect day cards. But my favorite mechanism of the game, let me jump to the favorite mechanism. You can watch videos if you want to learn about the other rules. There really aren't that many other rules. There's one thing I'm missing about kind of upgrading cards. There's a way to get a little bit better in the game. There is that really nice sense of progression. You're not only having better days, but the deck itself is getting better. So there's a nice progression to this game. And again, that is ultimately very simple about playing cards in numerical order. But my favorite mechanism is that at the beginning of each round, you deal out a number of cards. So at the beginning of the first round, if you're playing on easy mode, you will deal out 24 cards, no matter the player count. So if there's 2 players, you're dealing out 12 cards to each player. If there's 3 players, you're dealing out 8 to each player, and so on up through 6. And each day, you deal out fewer and fewer cards. So it gets a little hard. Even as the deck is getting better, you see fewer cards. However, and this is the favorite mechanism that I keep building up towards, you cannot look at those cards until the round starts. So it's not like you can pick up the cards and you can order them in the right numerical order and have it all ready to go for that round. No, you have to just deal out the cards face down and say go, flip this over, and start playing those cards in real time. You are kind of organizing your hand, looking at what you have, looking at what you don't have in real time. And It does add a sense of urgency to it, but it really helps the puzzle of the game because you don't have that extra time to really sort through your thoughts. You are sorting through it in real time, and you can't communicate what you have remaining in your hand. The only thing you can communicate is say someone plays a 2. Which means that this 1 in my hand, and actually this 2 in my hand, are dead cards. You can take these cards out from your hand and put them on the table. You can show them to all players that you don't have these cards to play anymore. And you're kind of showing how many cards you have left in hand when you do that. I like that paired with this element of not knowing what's in your hand until the round begins. That adds a really, really nice touch to this game. If this sounds fun to you, and really in particular, if you enjoy the game The Mind, I would highly, highly recommend Groundhog Day. It is a lot of fun, and the idea of getting better and better over the course of the same game feels really, really good. But I love how these mechanisms come together, particularly that element where you don't get to look at your hand of cards before the round begins, added with this real-time element. So that's Groundhog Day. If you played a game with any mechanisms like this, feel free to mention them in the comments below. Or if you have played Groundhog Day and have a different or the same favorite mechanism, feel free to mention that below as well. Thanks.